everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm doing a follow-up video to my mini book haul from thriftbooks.com where I bought this clip art book that had like a library of all the different images that are on the CD-ROM in the back that I have no way to use since I don't have a CD-ROM player in any computer that I own. But the images are perfect sizes for creating ephemera pieces. Most of them are about this size here. There are obviously some larger, but that's about as large as they go there. And I thought that those would work perfectly for ephemera pieces. The other follow-up I had was to this book here that had botanical illustrations, and I'm sorry, I'm having issues opening my books all the way. I had to connect my phone to a power source, and I'm going to hit the cord if I open it too wide, but as you can see here, large images, and so I did do some fussy cutting on two of the images already. So this is a rhododendron that was a large size, and there were 3 blossoms that really was what I was wanting to cut, so I did fussy cut those out for use in upcoming ephemera. And then I can't remember what this little plant is, but it kind of looks like a Tim Holtz plant, and I thought it was super cute, so I fussy cut out pieces from that as well. So let's talk about this. Let me put my book down. Let's talk about this one here. So these pages, as I mentioned, super shiny, very slick, and what I put on there wasn't working. So to combat that, gesso to the rescue. So I like this, let me get in camera, it's opposite on my screen. So this is a very smooth, pasty gesso, and it's perfect for everything that I do. And there's lots of other gessos out there, so if you've not bought gesso yet, there's some that are quite gritty, depending on the tooth that artists need in their projects. For me, and what I do for junk journaling, which is to maybe tone down color, lighten things up, and in this case I am adding tooth. This is perfect for what I'm doing. And this is a Dollar Tree not makeup, skincare spatula that people use to put masks on, etc. And this is really nice because you get a nice thin layer, and also you don't waste product because there's no bristles for the gesso to go into, so you have a lot less waste. And I am just wanting to put on a very thin layer, super thin, because I don't want to get rid of the background because I need that to give shape and identity to the plant. So literally all I'm really trying to do here is just put enough on so that my watercolors will stick to the page. That's all. So I've already done this on a couple pages, so you don't have to watch paint dry during my video. So we'll just pull those up real quick and talk about how the watercolor's sticking on there. So here's a page I already started messing around with, and so this is dried, and you can see that the watercolor stayed on very well. Now I will tell you, I am not an artist. I don't paint. I do love color, but I don't paint, and I have no technique, and there's no way I'm going to stay in the lines, and that's okay. For me, that's not really important. What I'm really looking for here is just something that is pretty and can give me the colors that I need in my ephemera. So I love Tim Holtz ink, and I use it a lot just, you know, for watercoloring effect. But I'm not a watercolorist. But this asparagus today, sure, he's usually green in real life. Today He's purple. And I don't feel like I have to get every leaf on here in order to get the effect that I'm looking for, like in my final ephemera piece. But I think that would be perfectly fine. It's a very light purple. I do have some darker purple somewhere, but I think that's a good enough image for me to use with some fussy cutting and then inking around it. I think that would pop off the page. Another thing that I was thinking about using was potentially a full sheet in a journal. So if this was, for instance, a traveler's notebook, I could put this in as a full sheet. I'd always have to cut a little bit of it down, but I think like that would be perfect. And I would want to custom color this for my journal. In this particular case, I don't think I would paint the individual images. In this particular case, I think I would just watercolor the entire sheet. So I'm sure if you've been around in the community, you've probably seen Andrea from Artie Mays do this on various things, pieces that she puts in her journals. But what I would do is just pick up the color in various places and create a custom color piece for my journal. Now, generally, these work best to dry them in between the colors, and I'm going to do that, and I'm sorry, but my setup is very basic, and I don't do editing, and so I'm giving you a forewarning. You might want to press the mute button while I dry this off, just so we can put a second color on, so hang on really quick. My dryer is connected to the power source behind me, so give me just a minute and I'll get this dry and we'll try the next color. Oh no, it's dead. What's happened? Uh-oh. Well, so much for that tool. It's not working. All right, figured it out. I had unplugged another item to be able to charge my computer and phone while I was filming this because they were dying a bit. So here we go. I'm gonna dry this up real quick. So drying them up will help protect them from mudding up as you mix the colors. If we left them wet and we put on, for instance, the yellow, then we would get a green color. And maybe we don't want a green color. I personally have no problem with the green color, but you get what I'm saying, and then adding other colors on top of that, you just end up mudding them up. So we'll just go with some yellow for now. This one's quite dry, I think. There we go. Start. Get that out. Try that. All right. Get a little bit of that yellow going. All right, I'm going to turn on the heating tool real quick again and dry that up. I want to mute it. All right, I think we'll go pink next. I think some of these are a little bit on the dry side. All right. that down. I've been doing kind of this method several times now, and it always takes a while to kind of come together. But once you get enough color down, it does start kind of coming together. I'm just not getting enough coverage because these are not wanting to give me. There we go. I feel like that one might be coming off now. It's a little more damp on my surface. The more color you get on here, the faster this goes, but these are very small ink pads, so it's taking a little bit of time. Here we go. All right. So they're starting to come together. Dry that up and wipe that down real quick. Dry that up. Mute your TV. All right, let's go for the purple. Go. Pick all that up. All right, let me quickly dry. And I actually don't mind a little bit of brown in mine. I feel like it's a nice little filler to have. I think this one's pretty juicy. Yes, it is. I'm probably going to use my watercolor pen, my water pen instead. Get that off. Just, there we go. Just because I don't want it to overwhelm. But I like it because it is a nice kind of in between to fill in the different areas of the primary colors. And you can water it down a little bit more, but it just kind of helps pull it together versus just having a bunch of bright colors. So more down here. Try not to let the brush marks be too obvious, because with the method of kind of dropping it on into different places by pressing it down, I don't want it then to have brush marks. Kind of just feels like two different techniques. So I like to use that, just various places. Get that a little bit more wet, a little lighter. Just fill in the gaps a little bit. Now you can keep going with either additional colors or just keep going with the same colors and fill them in till you get your final finished product. But hopefully you can see, especially right here, as these colors are kind of coming together. There we go. Just kind of filling those in. Put a little bit more. I'm going to finish just this little area right here, just so that we can then do the final piece that typically kind of pulls this together. So what I try to do is I do try to pretty much have it solidly filled in with colors, whether that's a little bit of the brown or simply just the brighter colors. I do like to have that pretty much filled in order to do the next step, which is, yay, using some more gesso. I love gesso. It's fun. It's just a very fun thing to do. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. This is going to have a little bit more brown than I normally would have, but I just want to be able to keep the video short enough so you guys can go play yourselves today. Maybe try this yourself. All right, let that get that on the dry real quick. Plug your ears. All right, it's pretty dry. Let's wipe that up. All right, so then using some wax paper, and I've already used this before. If you paint some gesso in here and then use that to kind of press onto your page, it kind of just pulls it together by giving it a little bit of unstructured, for lack of a better word, unstructured white space versus trying to paint gesso on sometimes or paint white on. Just doesn't look very natural. So this is, again, Andrea's method of doing this. And just, you know, paint a little bit of the gesso in the middle here. And then you can just simply squash it in places. And I like it when it's textured like this, because then it dries really nicely with its own patterns. And it will be a little raised, but I don't mind that for the gesso. It kind of just brings it together and kind of breaks up the, especially where the brown is, it's kind of breaking that up a little bit. But this is a great way just to kind of make that look a little bit more natural. Just press that in places. All right, this corner here. Oh, just a little bit right here. All right, and again, if you don't dry your ink before you do this, your gesso will become muddy. That white will become very muddy looking, and you'll pick that up and you'll be able to see that pretty quickly when you're pressing that down. So let's dry that off. See what we have. Normally, again, I wouldn't put as much brown in here. I just want to fill this in just so that you can get the effect. And you can see how the gesso is not like a consistent painted on like the watercoloring is. Just a little bit more natural. Go. Could add a little bit more as well, but you can kind of see how the gesso helps break up the watercolor a bit and the different areas where the colors are coming together. White is just part of, you know, paper, and I think that it helps to add the gesso just to kind of smooth out the transitions and everything else. So I think once it was fully dry, and it's not, I'm sorry, it's still a little wet, but I just want to get to the end. I'm sticking my finger in it. Get to the end result here. So if this was in a traveler's notebook style and your colors were pink and blue and purple, and bring the brown together, maybe add a little bit more yellow. But I think that would be super cute just to have a kind of a custom color page in the journal, and then put some writing surface on the back just to give the page a little bit more stability. You can kind of see how it's curling a bit being wet. This is not a watercolor page, piece of paper, so I think that would be super cute to have that in a journal. I think you could also stamp on it and fill in a little bit of the other areas where the words weren't, and just kind of maybe stamp it in a different, either some background text would be super cute. Let's see, I think I've got some background text. It's a little bit, needs to dry just a little bit, so let's help it along. Don't want to ruin my stamp by putting it on gesso. Got some brown stays on ink here. Got a little script stamp. And again, I just want to do it kind of randomly, but it could help fill in those gaps a little bit. There we go. Stay away from the gesso. And if you didn't like how dark the script was, you could definitely put this on prior and then gesso over it. I kind of like the script to pop a little bit, just changes up the entire, you know, look of the page. I'm afraid of gesso here. I think it might be just fine. Maybe even go in with one more different stamp in here, maybe. I'm just going to stick with this for now. What do you think? I think it's kind of cool. I think it gives kind of an arty flair that I traditionally don't have, just because I'm not really an artist. It's not my forte, but I like to have, you know, custom things in my journal just to give it less of a packaged, you know, digital kit vibe to it. And now you have an easy page that you created all by yourself. So I think it's kind of nifty. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you do try something like this yourself, share that with me, and I'd love to take a look at the work you guys are producing when it comes to watercoloring and gessoing and stamping all together on a page. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.